Because Jiang Jiyuan forgot to pick up the child, it led to the child being in a car accident. By the time I rushed to the hospital, the doctor had already regretfully announced that the resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful. I stroked the child's cold, lifeless body, feeling utterly lost and hopeless. When I opened my phone, I discovered that Jiang Jiyuan's sister had posted a moment on her social media. The caption reads, "My brother set this up for Sister Annan himself. So sweet it's killing me." So, Jiang Jiyuan was busy preparing a birthday party for his white moonlight. I made sure to give it a like. Not long after, Jiang Jiyuan called. They insisted I go. I couldn't say no. I reminded him, "You forgot to pick up Xiao Yuan." Jiang Jiyuan panicked a little, saying he would send a car over immediately. I said flatly, "You have your fun. We don't need you anymore." When the hospital called to say Xiao Yuan had been in a car accident, I felt a fear like never before. The teacher told me that no one came to pick up my child, and he ran into the street alone and was hit by a car. But I specifically asked Jiang Jiyuan to pick up my child for me today. How could he just stand me up? Before I could even contact Jiang Jiyuan, I rushed to the hospital in a taxi. The light outside the operating room went out. The doctor came out, shook his head regretfully, and told me Xiao Yuan couldn't be saved. I sat numbly on the bench in the corridor, my mind a complete blank. It felt as if a piece of my heart had been ripped out. The pain so intense my entire body went numb. After a long while, I finally mustered the courage to touch Xiao Yuan's hand, which had already grown cold. She was gently covered by a white sheet, appearing to be sleeping peacefully. After taking a moment to collect myself, I opened my phone to call Jiang Jiyuan. After all, he's still the child's father. However, my phone screen was still on the social media feed. Jiang Jiyuan's sister, Jiang Yin, had just posted something a few minutes ago. The caption read, "Big bro personally set this up for Sister Annan. It's so sweet I could die." The caption shows Jiang Jiyuan's back as he busies himself hanging string lights and tying balloons, with the words "Happy Birthday" catching my eye. The scene was warm and bright, a stark contrast to the lifeless white expanse before me. So, the reason he forgot to pick up Xiao Yuan was simply to prepare a birthday party for Chen Anan. Jiang Jiyuan had known Chen Anan long before I did, and she ended up marrying a wealthy businessman halfway through university. Later, when the tycoon became obsessed with playing multiplayer games, Chen Anan divorced him and took their child with her. In the eyes of some of Jiang Yin and Jiang Jiyuan's friends, the two of them were a match made in heaven. If Chen Anan hadn't married so young, someone like me would never have had a chance to marry Jiang Jiyuan. Jiang Yin once told me that if I hadn't had a child, his brother and Chen Anan might have rekindled their old flame. Gatherings like this actually happen pretty regularly. I used to always worry about Jiang Jiyuan's health, especially after he was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Since the cure rate is quite high, only he and I know about it. Whenever I urge Jiang Jiyuan to head home early and drink less, everyone thinks I'm a real buzzkill. In their eyes, I'm too strict and completely unreasonable, especially when compared to Chen Anan. But today, I had to ask Jiang Jiyuan for a rare favor because of a last-minute meeting at work, and yet, he actually forgot all about Xiao Yuan because of Chen Anan. Little Yuan lost her life because of this, and she was only 4 years old. It was clearly his fault, yet I blamed myself to the point of unbearable guilt. I should have seen his true colors long ago and never harbored any illusions about him. Tears silently streamed from the corner of my eye as I deliberately gave this WeChat post a like. Jiang Yin deleted it within seconds. I knew she'd forgotten to block me. Not long after, Jiang Jiyuan's call came through. As usual, he explained to me. They insisted I go. I couldn't say no. I reminded him softly, "You forgot to pick up Xiao Yuan." A flicker of panic crossed Jiang Jiyuan's tone as he blurted out, "I forgot. I'll send a car and driver to pick her up right away." A casual, offhand mention of forgetting, as if nothing had happened. A chill spread from the tips of my toes throughout my entire body, yet I felt utterly, piercingly clear-headed. "Have fun. We don't need you anymore. Xiao Yuan doesn't need you, and neither do I. Xiao Yuan is dead." At Xiao Yuan's funeral, Jiang Jiyuan wept bitterly, desperately saying it was all his fault, yet I stood far away from him. I remembered that morning, when I smiled and said to her, "Xiao Yuan, Daddy will be picking you up today instead." Xiao Yuan was so happy she nearly jumped for joy. I closed my eyes wearily. "I'm sorry, sweetheart, Mommy lied to you." It felt like my body was being torn apart. I nearly passed out. After the bereavement leave ended, I returned to the office. The person I held as dear as life itself was gone. And I desperately needed to keep myself busy, otherwise, I would have completely fallen apart. I was so busy taking care of my child and Jiang Jiyuan that I even turned down a promotion. My boss saw me and first offered his condolences. My condolences. But you're still young. Then he suggested, Shinya, about that overseas exchange opportunity we discussed before. You said you wanted to think it over. What are your thoughts now? You have the skills for the job. And a trip abroad might do you some good, help you clear your head. The moment he finished speaking, I nodded decisively. All right, I'll go. A flicker of surprise crossed my boss's face. After all, I had always used household chores as an excuse before. Perhaps you should discuss it with your husband again. I shook my head with a smile. That won't be necessary. From now on, I'll make my own decisions. I had just stepped out of the office when Jiang Jiyuan called me. Ever since our child passed away, he's shown me a little more tenderness and patience. Why didn't you tell me you were leaving so early today? It's our wedding anniversary today. Do you remember? I actually remembered, but I said on purpose. I don't recall, Jiang Jiyuan said slowly. I bought you a necklace. We still have to go on with our lives. Come home early. Mom wants us to go over there for dinner tonight. Their lives went on as usual, the truly difficult days. Filled with a longing so deep it bordered on despair, could probably be counted on one hand, but my Xiao Yuan was forever left in yesterday. In that evening when Dad broke his promise, I heard him fiddling with something again, muttering to himself, "That's odd. Where did the necklace go?" I replied flatly, trying to brush it off. "Don't worry about a gift. I didn't get you one either." Jiang Jiyuan was starting to get a little flustered. "I have to work late tonight, so I won't be back early." With that, I hung up the phone. I deliberately delayed going home by 2 hours. To my surprise, Jiang Jiyuan was waiting in his car at my doorstep. Before I could even refuse, he practically pulled me inside. I really don't want to go, after all. Jiang Jiyuan's mother has never thought much of me. In Mrs. Jiang's eyes, Chenanan is the ideal daughter-in-law. To Jiang Yin, Chenanan is the perfect sister-in-law. When I arrived, Mrs. Jiang and Chenanan were bringing the dishes to the table, one by one. Just as I expected, she showed up too. Jiang Yin saw me and muttered under her breath, "Why did you have to bring her? She's just going to ruin the mood again. If you're in a bad mood, you should just stay home." I didn't feel like talking to her, so I just found a seat and sat down by myself. Aunt Jiang said with some displeasure, "We've been waiting for you for almost 2 hours. You're not usually this busy." "Why today of all days?" I said softly. "It's going to be like this from now on." At that moment, I saw Jiang Jiyuan pointing at Chenanan's neck, whispering something. Chenanan's voice wasn't exactly quiet. I could hear every word clearly. "Brother Yuan, I thought you bought this for me." I saw it on the passenger seat and put it on. It was a diamond necklace, shimmering against her fair neck. I figured this must be Jiang Jiyuan's anniversary gift, perhaps noticing my gaze. Jiang Jiyuan walked over slowly and said, somewhat awkwardly, I really can't find that necklace I meant to give you. After dinner, I'll take you to the jewelry store so you can pick out one you like yourself." I remained silent, while Auntie Jiang eagerly urged Chenanan to sit down. "You're our guest. Don't trouble yourself with these things. Shinya will take care of it." Chenanan smiled sweetly. "Auntie, it's the least I could do. I'd love to come over and have dinner with you every day." Aunt Jiang looked pleased, then pulled Chenanan to stand right in front of me. "Shinya, think of Anan as family, just like Yin. Consider her a little sister to Xiao Yuan. So don't get the wrong idea, even though they often have meals together, there's absolutely nothing going on between them, too." That's what she said. But Aunt Jiang's tone carried an undeniable firmness. Jiang Yin chimed in, "Exactly, sis-in-law. If you keep acting like this, no man is going to like it. Xiao Yuan just left. You should focus on yourself and just get your head straight. That's all. Brother's work is so demanding. It's only natural he has more social engagements. Some things are just unavoidable. Look at Sister Anan, she always steps in to drink for him at every work dinner. If there was anything going on between them, the rumors would have been flying all over town by now." Jiang Yin's whole spiel sounded perfectly reasonable, but I knew full well she was the biggest cheerleader for Jiang Jiyuan and Chenanan getting together. She even forgot to block me from seeing that post on her social feed. Who knows what kind of crazy stuff she's been saying behind my back. Honestly, whenever the Jiang mother-daughter duo opens their mouths, it's either a lecture or them taking pleasure in someone else's misfortune. I zeroed in on the key point and asked, business dinners. Every time, they really are quite the team. So, Jiang Jiyuan even takes Chen Anan along to his business dinners. Once again, I was kept completely in the dark. Jiang Yin, realizing too late that she had let the cat out of the bag, awkwardly laughed and changed the subject, because we arrived so late. By the time we finished dinner and cleaned up, it was almost 9 o'clock. A light drizzle was falling as Jiang Jiyuan tentatively asked me, "It's raining, and it's getting late. It's not really safe for Anan to go back alone. I'll see her home first. You wait here for me. If you'd already made up your mind, why bother asking me in the first place?" I gave a nonchalant nod, watching the two figures recede into the distance. After all, I had no intention of waiting for him, while Mrs. Jiang was still on the other end of the line, chiding me for being inconsiderate. I had already booked a ride for myself. Strolling in the rain, my heart was unusually calm. When Jiang Jiyuan arrived home, he was slightly out of breath. It was clear he had rushed back. He touched my shoulder with concern. "Shinya, are you alright? Anan's child is home alone. I just thought she should head back a bit earlier." As he spoke, Jiang Jiyuan looked at me again, a hint of resentment in his eyes. "Couldn't you have waited just half an hour for me?" I stared at him and suddenly asked, "What about Xiao Yuan?" Jiang Jiyuan said blankly, "What? You care so much about children, so why can't you remember your own child? Why did you just forget about Xiao Yuan like that back then?" Jiang Jiyuan fell silent, his hand slowly slipping from my shoulder. I added coolly, "I took a cab back. I'm sure Chenanan can take a cab home by herself." Jiang Jiyuan frowned, and after a long pause, he finally said, "That's a different matter entirely." He was right. Caring and not caring are two completely different things. I called him out. "You just want to see her home, plain and simple." A flicker of irritation passed through Jiang Jiyuan's eyes, but he only let out a deep sigh. "Shinya, you're overthinking it. Anan is like a little sister to me. It's just like with Yinyin. She's divorced and raising a child all on her own. It's tough. Is it so wrong for me to lend a hand? You've been a mother yourself, so you can understand, right? The questions he asks are always pointless." I took a few steps back and stared him straight in the eye. "Help her. They're practically glued together even at social functions." My tone grew colder as Jiang Jiyuan struggled to keep his patience while explaining things to me. "Anan is just trying to learn a few more skills. After all, she has a child to raise and needs to learn how to work and earn a living on her own." As he spoke, Jiang Jiyuan took a step forward and gently embraced me. My hands hung limply at my sides. And I didn't return the gesture. I only listened as he whispered softly by my ear, "I miss Xiao Yuan too, and I know you're hurting. But please, try to move forward. Okay, we can have another child. You might, but I won't." Just then, Jiang Jiyuan's phone rang. After a moment's hesitation, he answered it. A child's voice came through the line, sounding about the same age as Xiao Yuan. The child whined sweetly, "Uncle Jiang, I've missed you so much. Could you come and tell me a story?" Jiang Jiyuan turned off the speakerphone, his gaze towards me evasive and shifty, but he didn't say a word to me, simply holding up his phone as he headed towards the bedroom. Shortly after, he emerged wearing his jacket, and I understood the situation perfectly. With an apologetic look, he leaned down and placed a gentle kiss on my forehead. "Anan's child has been getting teased lately for not having a father, so they've been clinging to me a bit. I should go over there, otherwise the little one will make a fuss again." I gave a nonchalant nod. "Go ahead." Seeing how calm I was, Jiang Jiyuan gently took my hand. "Once I've finished dealing with all this, I promise I'll spend more time with you. When the time is right, we can try for another child." For some reason, hearing those words made me feel a faint wave of nausea. I turned on my computer and discussed the upcoming overseas work arrangements and preliminary preparations with my manager. A new message notification popped up on WeChat. It was a screenshot sent by a friend of mine. 3. As it happened, she had Chenanan on WeChat, who had just posted a new moment on her feed, such a heartwarming bedtime routine for the father and son. The accompanying picture shows her child leaning against Jiang Jiyuan's chest, listening to a story. I opened a voice message from a friend. "Holy shit, Your husband has a secret love child on the side." I just gave a half-hearted explanation and went back to focusing on company matters. Lately, Jiang Jiyuan's business seems to be doing very well. He invited me to the banquet just days after the project showed its first promising results. I wanted to decline, but his repeated pleas wore me down, leaving me feeling annoyed. "I already told you I'd make sure you're well taken care of. That's why I wanted you to come with me, to introduce you to our partners." Once we entered the banquet hall, the female secretary from the other company fixed her gaze on me and muttered to herself as if watching a scene unfold, "Wasn't it a different woman he brought last time to sign the contract?" Jiang Jiyuan's face stiffened. He had clearly heard the remark. Just then, my boss called and told me to hand over the projects I was working on tonight. I agreed, after hanging up the phone. Jiang Jiyuan's face darkened immediately, and he frowned, saying, "What's so important that it has to be now? Couldn't you have said you were busy?" I answered without hesitation. "No, there was a time when I needed him just as much, but 9 times out of 10 when I called, he would say he was busy with work." When Xiao Yuan fell ill, I stayed up all night at the hospital alone, only to rush back to the office first thing in the morning. Worried that the cafeteria food was too greasy and bad for Jiang Jiyuan's health, I cooked for him myself and brought it to his office. Yet, in the end, he found me a nuisance, thinking I was getting in the way of his work. Finally, when I asked him for a last-minute favor to pick up our child just once, it led to the most devastating outcome. I suddenly felt a strong urge to laugh. "Jiang Jiyuan, why on earth should I drop my own plans for your company's party?" Jiang Jiyuan's grip on his wine glass visibly tightened as he said with clear irritation, "You were always suspicious about me and Enan before. Now that I've brought you here openly, you want to leave. What's the meaning of this?" I didn't answer. I just walked out of the banquet hall on my own. From now on, he can take whoever he wants. I don't care anymore. After handing over my tasks to the new hire at the office, I went straight home. My manager informed me that the flight is scheduled for next week. Hearing this news, I felt an inexplicable sense of relief. Just then, my well-connected friend sent me a video. In the video, Jiang Jiyuan and Chen Enan were being egged on to drink a cross-cupped wine toast, and Chen Enan was beaming with a sweet, radiant smile. I asked her where the video came from. My friend said it was posted on a platform by the secretary of Hongmeng's general manager. I logged in and saw some discussion in the comments, but it hadn't really taken off yet. "The wife of the Jiang Corporation CEO doesn't look like that, does she? This is the one. The person you're talking about is probably the mistress. So who's the real wife?" Then, with a cold laugh, I snapped a photo of the marriage certificate and posted it in the comments, instantly silencing all the gossip. After a moment's thought, I went ahead and forwarded everything to Jiang Jiyuan as well. When I looked back at that post, the female secretary had already deleted it. It wasn't long before Jiang Jiyuan called me. He explained in a fluster, "That was just a game of truth or dare everyone was egging me on to do. It was all in good fun. I have no idea what's going on with President Lin's secretary. How could she stir up this kind of trouble out of the blue? I've already spoken to President Lin. We must ensure there are serious consequences for this." I let out a nonchalant "oh," never expecting that Jiang Jiyuan would actually hand the phone to Chen Enan. Chen Enan seemed to be explaining herself to me, but I could clearly detect a hint of smugness in her tone. "Sister Ya, please don't misunderstand. This is just a game we often play at parties. It's just to lighten the mood. Have a few drinks, that's all. There's really nothing going on between Brother Yuan and me." A faint voice from the phone could be heard saying, "Nowadays, it's trendy to bring the mistress instead of the wife. I just never thought mistresses would be this brazen, acting like they're the real wife. It's probably that female secretary." I heard Jiang Jiyuan shout angrily. "Shut up," Chen Enan said in a trembling, tearful voice. "Sister Ya, you have to believe me." I yawned and said flatly, "Yeah, there's nothing between you. Tell Jiang Jiyuan for me, we're getting a divorce." Jiang Jiyuan told me to stop making a scene, saying it was all just a joke. He told me to go to bed first, and that he would drive me to the office in the morning. However, by the time he came back, it was already dawn. He didn't even step inside the house. He just pulled up in the car and stopped right outside the gate. As usual, I opened the passenger door, only to find a child sitting there with their legs crossed. Upon seeing me, they rolled their eyes and curled their lip in clear disgust. "You wicked woman, you're a wicked woman." The child glared at me, his seemingly innocent face radiating pure malice. He was practically on the verge of spitting at me. Chenanan leaned forward from the back seat, offering an apologetic smile. Sorry about that. Why, yeah, kids will be kids. How, you mustn't be rude. Jiang Jiyuan gripped the steering wheel, his expression visibly uncomfortable. Seeing that none of us spoke, Chenanan went on to explain of her own accord. How really likes Brother Yuan. It's mainly because Brother Yuan is so good to him, that's why he's always clinging to him. I'm sure Brother Yuan is a great father in Xiaoyuan's eyes too. Hearing this, I found it utterly ironic, yet I replied calmly, yes, I suppose your child sees him as his real father too. Jiang Jiyuan's expression darkened even further. He seemed to think for a few seconds before speaking slowly. How, why don't you sit in the back with Mom, and let Aunt Xinya take the front passenger seat? Okay, How immediately pouted, his little legs kicking and flailing about. No way, I want to sit right here. Jiang Jiyuan and Chenanan spoke almost in unison, telling me not to make a big deal out of it with a child, so I walked straight to the back and sat right next to Chenanan, for I didn't feel angry. Instead, I felt they were more like a family of three. And I was just someone tagging along for the ride. A smug expression spread across Hao's face, as if he were the little master of the house. The child's look carried a hint of the same self-satisfaction as Chenanan's. Jiang Jiyuan drove in silence the whole way. Chenanan initiated the conversation with me, saying, Sister Ya, I heard from Yin Yin that you're the jealous type, but now I see you're actually a very magnanimous woman. I rested my head in my hand, gazing out the window at the scenery, and offered a few vague, non-committal responses. Thinking her words had hit the mark, Chenanan grew more emboldened and continued, You probably know my situation. Brother Yuan has always looked out for us. I've even asked him to attend parent-teacher conferences before because the other kids used to tease my son for not having a father. Next week is Hao's 5th birthday. Would it be possible for Brother Yuan to spend it with him? I promise nothing will happen. I turned my head and smiled at her. There's really no need to tell me about such a small thing. Even if Hao ends up calling him Dad in the future, I think that's perfectly fine. To my surprise, Hao actually took it to heart. His eyes lit up as he exclaimed to Jiang Jiyuan, Daddy. I hadn't even noticed that the car had already come to a stop downstairs at Chenanan's place. Jiang Jiyuan got out of the car with a frown, then opened the door for Chenanan and Hao. Watching them head upstairs. Back in the car, he asked me to move back to the passenger seat. I remained motionless in the back seat. Jiang Jiyuan spoke up, his tone a bit stiff. Xinya, are you upset with me again? I shook my head indifferently. I'm tired. I don't want to move. A long, heavy silence filled the car. After what felt like an eternity, Jiang Jiyuan finally turned to me and said, I promise this is the last time. After we get through Hao's birthday party, I'll make things clear with them. We'll draw a line, once and for all. Xinya, trust me on this. I gave a blank, expressionless nod. It was just to placate him for the moment and avoid any unnecessary trouble. Jiang Jiyuan let out a long, relieved sigh, as if a weight had been lifted. Of course I won't believe it anymore. My heart has died 1,000 deaths, beyond all hope of redemption. It occurred to me again that I'll soon be going abroad for work. From now on, I will strive to seek a new beginning. Perhaps he realized he had truly gone too far. Jiang Jiyuan started being gentle and considerate again. I used to worry about his health, so I would carefully prepare every meal for him. But now, Jiang Jiyuan has even started cooking for me himself, making meals for me to take to the office. I could no longer taste the care he'd put into it. I just left it on my desk and tossed it in the bin on my way out. Jiang Jiyuan's calls and messages became more frequent, a feeling both familiar and strange. He'd tell me where he was, what he was doing, what time he'd be home, and ask when I'd be back. It reminded me of when we were first dating and newly married. Things were just like this back then. Back then, I was always ready to respond, but now, I just feel irritable and weary. I was used to our effortless, intimate conversations. But in the end, he was the one who grew tired first. Jiang Jiyuan bought Hao the latest model toy car as a birthday present. He walked out the door in his suit and tie, the faint scent of his cologne drifting into my awareness. I remember it was when I got my first paycheck. I went to the mall specifically to pick out that brand for him. I rarely saw him use it, He said he'd only sparingly spray a little on special occasions, since it was a gift from me. He wanted to treasure it and make it last a lifetime, yet today, he walked out drenched in that scent, all just to celebrate a birthday with Chenanan and the others. I had already booked a hotel near the airport and was ready to set off first thing tomorrow morning. Sitting at the desk, I slowly took off the wedding ring that had been with me for years, and pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared long ago from the drawer. If only he had cared a little more for Xiao Yuan. And loved this family a little more, spare just a fraction of the energy he gives to Chen Anan for us. If Xiao Yuan were still alive, perhaps we wouldn't have come to this, but he had long grown weary of life with me. All of it was just a futile hope in my heart. Once, we promised each other to walk through life hand in hand. This time, consider it my turn to break that promise. As the plane took off, it felt like the final period in the story of him and me, the moment the plane touched down. My phone started buzzing non-stop, nearly 100 missed calls from Jiang Jiyuan, plus a long string of text messages, all asking, of course, where I had gone. My friend also sent me a few messages. How could this happen right after you went abroad? You have to check the trending topics. It's been blowing up for hours. Shinya, calm down. That despicable couple will get what's coming to them. I clicked on the trending topic link she sent me. It led to a verified lifestyle blogger. A glance at the profile picture confirmed it. It was a photo of Jiang Jiyuan with Mrs. Chen and her son. The blogger's bio read, "A simple record of our little family's happy life." As I scrolled further, each heartwarming picture and every caption overflowing with happiness still gave me a sharp pang in my chest. It was as if all the time I'd spent with him was nothing but a dream I'd had, a family of 3. In the end, Xiao Yuan and I are nothing. The phone rang. It was Jiang Jiyuan calling. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. Jiang Jiyuan's anxious voice came through the line. His voice trembled, and he sounded pained. "Shinya, please don't misunderstand. It's just people online taking things out of context and stirring up trouble. Let's not get a divorce. Come back, and we'll make it work." I said slowly, "I'm not coming back." Jiang Jiyuan mumbled, "What? I've taken on a new job overseas. I'm already there. The divorce papers are on the table in the room. You must have seen them. If there's nothing else, just sign them quickly." Jiang Jiyuan's voice grew hoarse with emotion. "I won't divorce you, Shinya. Don't be stubborn. We're both adults. We can talk things through properly." He was probably still trying to convince himself that I was just throwing a tantrum. "I know you're upset about what happened between me and Anan. I promise I'll never see her again. Have you forgotten? I'm still sick. How could you bear to abandon me like this?" I replied. "I could. Please come back. I know I was wrong." His voice was desolate, carrying a hint of pleading. "Think of Xiao Yuan. Do you want our child to watch us from heaven as we go through this ugly divorce?" I let out a soft, bitter laugh. "Then give Xiao Yuan back to me." He faltered, at a loss. "Shinya, I told you, we can have another child." I stood by the window, the night breeze brushing against my face, leaving me acutely awake. "No, I won't. You might have others, but I only have Xiao Yuan." As I finished speaking, my vision blurred completely. Jiang Jiyuan on the other end of the line fell silent, letting out only a long, heavy sigh. There was no point in saying anything more, so I hung up the phone first. The drama between Jiang Jiyuan and me quickly made the rounds in our social circle. Several friends sent me WeChat messages, one after another, calling Jiang Jiyuan a heartless, ungrateful scumbag. Jiang Yin's social media feed still occasionally features photos of group gatherings. Chenanan would still chime in with comments now and then, saying how much fun she had with them. Now, even if Jiang Jiyuan stays up all night drinking and carousing with them, I won't say a word. In the past, I was always afraid his illness would relapse, living in a constant state of anxiety. So I'll make sure he gets home early and cuts back on the drinking. With his condition, there's no room for taking chances. I was busy with my own work, turning a blind eye to the trivial matters of the outside world. I just want to be a quiet observer. Jiang Jiyuan still called every now and then, but I refused every single one. So he started texting me, and without fail, every message was a plea for me to come back. "Shinya, please forgive me. I know what I did was wrong. Please come back. I really can't live without you. I'm begging you." I looked at these words numbly, my heart completely unmoved. Jiang Jiyuan always thought I was too controlling, telling me he needed his own space, So now I've given him all the space he wanted, so why is he having regrets? Besides, Jiang Yin and his mother were never happy with me around anyway. Chen Anan is the better match for him. I threw myself into my work and quickly made a name for myself overseas. My boss took me to a banquet, saying he wanted to introduce me to more business partners. My boss is Lin Yuqing, a man in his early 30s with handsome features and outstanding professional competence. The company sent just the two of us there, and in a foreign land, we always looked out for each other. For some reason, after hearing about the turmoil in my family, he showed even more concern for me. He took me out specifically to pick an evening gown. Dressed in a sharp suit, he led the way into the hall. With me walking by his side, Lin Qingyu spoke up suddenly. Xinya, I meant to ask earlier, do you still need to go back to your home country to sort out those matters? Actually, you could take some time off. I think you should get some proper rest. I shook my head. No need, I find my work quite fulfilling. Looking at his smiling face, I felt a warmth I hadn't known in a long time. Lin Qingyu and I were deep in conversation with many foreign partners, discussing our future plans. 5. Just as we were getting into the swing of things, Jiang Jiyuan's phone call came through again. I was hesitating, but Lin Qingyu told me not to run from it, so I decided to answer. Jiang Jiyuan's voice sounded utterly exhausted, slurring my name as soon as he spoke. I figured he must be drunk, yet, with alarming sharpness, he picked up on the movement around me and suddenly rasped out an accusation. You're with another man, aren't you? How could you? I sneered. So what if I am? Why shouldn't I? You, like the calm before a storm. Jiang Jiyuan spoke again, like a beast that had lost its mind. He roared, Chen Xinya, how could you do this to me? Don't you care about me anymore? You're just going to abandon me. Is that it? You don't care about anything anymore, but I still care about you. We're not divorced yet. I'll never sign the papers, not even if I die. After the bout of shouting, his voice gradually faded, sounding utterly helpless. Xinya, please come back. I miss you so much. I didn't want to hear any more. I cut him off softly. I don't want to be with you anymore. I could hear Jiang Jiyuan crying, but I wouldn't let my heart soften this time. After hanging up, I asked Lin Qingyu to help me find a reliable lawyer. Since Jiang Jiyuan is being so persistent, I have no choice but to find another way out. Lin Qingyu drank a lot on my behalf, and the occasional teasing from others about the two of us, I understood perfectly well what they were implying. The moment he saw me answer Jiang Jiyuan's call, the look of heartache in his eyes really got to me. But I'm already covered in scars. Do I even have the right to accept a brand new love? Lin Qingyu was completely wasted, and everyone agreed I was the best person to take him home. I didn't argue, just helped the unsteady man into the passenger seat. Lin Qingyu sat in the car without a word, his gaze fixed intently on me. Just as I was about to release the handbrake, a pair of large, warm hands suddenly covered mine. Lin Qingyu is always like this, making me feel distant, yet at other times, it feels like we're incredibly close. He leaned his head closer, his voice a bit muffled but earnest as he asked me, Xinya, do I still have a chance? I gently patted him with my other hand, offering no answer, and simply said, Mr. Lin. He frowned, and I couldn't help but smile. Lin Qingyu, I said, let me tell you about myself. Lin Qingyu was stunned for a few seconds, then slowly withdrew his hand. I stepped on the gas, and the car sped off into the distance. I spent the whole journey telling my story to Lin Qingyu. He just listened quietly, and I kept on talking. All the sorrow and heartache suddenly poured out of me, completely unrestrained. As the car stopped in front of the apartment, I tried to lighten the mood, saying, let's just forget what was said. You're drunk, anyway. Lin Qingyu gazed at me, his hand hovering in the air as if he wanted to reach out and touch my cheek, but he held back. I'm not drunk. Forget the bad things. I'll wait for you, always. He closed his eyes slightly, and my nose stung with emotion. I was covered in wounds, yet he came running to me. In the middle of the night, I was jolted awake by a phone call. It was Jiang Yin on the line. I had little patience left for her and said bluntly, just get to the point. She seemed frantic, but her tone towards me had softened considerably. I figured she must need a favor from me, otherwise, she'd be the first to pour fuel on the fire, not put it out. Jiang Yin, who rarely ever asked for anything, pleaded with me, sis, could you please help explain things online? I said coldly, it's the middle of the night here. I need to sleep, Jiang Yin said urgently. Sis, don't hang up. I know my brother messed up a lot of things, and I'm at fault too. I shouldn't have kept trying to play matchmaker. My mother is so distraught she's been hospitalized. All sorts of ugly rumors are flying around now. Just tell everyone that you and my brother are already divorced. It's only temporary. Please, just do this for us. If you don't, our whole family is going to be ruined. I let out a bitter laugh. I had already pieced together the gist of it. I turned on the computer by the bed, logged into the platform, and checked the latest trending topics. There are no secrets that can be kept forever. Even though the hotel secretary's post was quickly deleted, many people still seized the opportunity to bring it up and make a fuss. Many people came forward to verify my identity. And Chen Anan's lifestyle blogger account was immediately flooded with criticism. Her identity as the other woman was exposed, and the Jiang family, along with their business, suffered the consequences. Some say Jiang Jiyuan is a wolf in sheep's clothing, a handsome man with a despicable character. There are even rumors that Hao Hao is his illegitimate child with Chen Anan. After refreshing the page, Chen Anan's account showed that the blogger had voluntarily deactivated and deleted it. After watching the whole drama unfold, it finally dawned on me that this whole mess had somehow dragged me into it. Jiang Yin was still desperately begging for my help. I said impatiently, I've already divorced your brother. I signed the agreement unilaterally. If you can, please talk some sense into him and get him to sign it quickly. Jiang Yin exclaimed in shock. Sis, what are you doing? I let out a cold laugh. I have nothing to do with any of you anymore. Don't bother me again with that. I simply turned my phone off. These matters have nothing to do with me anymore. They sowed the seeds, so they must reap the consequences themselves. Why on earth should I clean up their mess? After settling my thoughts, I drifted peacefully back to sleep. After a hectic stretch of work, Lin Qingyu suggested we go back to our home country for a few days' break. I agreed, and he even went out of his way to find me a quiet place to stay. I never expected that on the day I just went to the office to catch up with old colleagues, I'd run into Jiang Jiyuan downstairs. I still recognized his silhouette instantly. When we met again, he was a mere shadow of his former self. Jiang Jiyuan had lost a great deal of weight, his face covered in stubble, looking utterly disheveled. Upon seeing me, a glimmer of hope seemed to reignite in his bloodshot eyes. Shinya, you've finally come. Do you have any idea how I... Before he could finish speaking, he spotted Lin Qingyu standing behind me. Who said you could get near her? Get the hell out. Jiang Jiyuan staggered forward, making a move to throw a punch at Lin Qingyu, but was shoved to the ground. He wobbled to his feet, his hands reaching out to grab my shoulders. I recoiled in disgust. Taking a step back, Jiang Jiyuan gasped for breath, pleading, come back with me. Can't we start over? My life will start over, but you won't be a part of it anymore. I shook my head resolutely. Just go, don't make this any uglier than it has to be. Jiang Jiyuan was on the verge of tears. Do you want to watch me die? You know perfectly well how fragile my health is. Chen Shinya, how could you be so cruel to me? He pulled the divorce papers from his pocket and, as if using the last of his strength, tore them to shreds. The diamond ring I had left behind clattered to the floor along with them. I said softly, you're not well, take care of yourself. Chen Anan might make a better wife, and Hao Hao would come to see you as his real father. If you insist on going down this path, I'll get a lawyer involved. I'm not afraid to take you to court. With that, I turned and got into the car with Lin Qingyu. Jiang Jiyuan stood there, rooted to the spot, as if his very soul had been ripped away. All that remained was a heart-wrenching scream, drawing a crowd of onlookers. I just listened in silence, because this time, I won't look back. Later on, I would still hear about Jiang Jiyuan and Chen Anan from time to time. I heard Jiang Jiyuan has been drinking heavily every day, causing his condition to relapse. The situation looks very grim. On top of that, Chen Anan egged him on to sign a money-losing deal, which cost the company tens of millions. That woman, the moment she heard Jiang Jiyuan had that kind of illness, took the money and ran like he was the plague. 6. Hearing all this, I suddenly felt as if my entire past life belonged to another world. Whenever I think of Xiao Yuan, I go to visit her at the cemetery. I bring her favorite dress and doll. Sometimes Lin Qingyu comes with me. I tell Xiao Yuan that there's an uncle who really wants to meet her. Mom misses you so much, too. Not long after, I finally received Jiang Jiyuan's long overdue divorce papers. The past is smoke, and tomorrow is on its way, and a new chapter of my life will begin in its own time. Story 2. The day after the divorce and property division, I got into a car accident and lost my memory. Later, Paisu found me. He said that if I didn't go crazy every day, remarrying was also an option. I was stunned, biting the ice cream spoon, and it took me a long time to say, no, I can actually just take the money. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. When I woke up, I saw my best friend, Chow Mion, looking worried. She told me not to be sad. She said that the body is our own, and even if I'm divorced, I should still live a good life. She said that the children wouldn't be wronged with Paisu, and there was no need for me to file a lawsuit, especially since I couldn't win anyway. I was stunned. After a long time, I couldn't help asking, who is Paisu? Chow Mion stopped, looking blank. After a while, she came to her senses and called the doctor. The doctor said it was amnesia due to the car accident sequelae. Chow Mion hurriedly asked me how old I was now. I thought for a while and said, 18. Didn't I just finish the college entrance examination yesterday? Chow Mion laughed, squatting on the ground, laughing so hard that her stomach hurt, and pounding the bed with her fist. Wanwan, you're really amazing. You've lost your memory so perfectly. Yes, you're 18. 18 is so nice. No Paisu, no children, just the two of us. I was even more confused. Chow Mion took me home. After confirming that it was difficult for me to regain my memory, she briefly introduced the current situation to me. I, Chen Wanwan, fell in love during my freshman year of college and met the poor boy, Paisu. I dated Paisu for 10 years, from 18 to 28. I accompanied him in starting a business, endured hardships with him, gave birth to his children, and took care of his parents, and then he filed for divorce from me this year. What? I was shocked. What kind of earth-shattering tragic and emotional drama was this? After a long time, I asked in a trembling voice, so, you mean I was someone's servant for 10 years and was kicked out at 28? Chow Mion nodded. Yes, you also have 2 children. Your son is 6 years old this year, and your daughter is 4. But because you were a housewife with no earning ability, both children chose to be with their father, so they were finally awarded to Paisu. What? I lost the 2 children I raised with so much effort. Although I hadn't experienced all this, it sounded terrifying. I was almost scared to cry. Then Chow Mion laughed and patted me on the shoulder. Don't be too sad, at least you have money. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I asked tentatively, how much? Chow Mion sat up straight. Wanwan. Listen up, you got 20% of Paisu's property, 10% of the shares of 3 listed companies, and 2 courtyard houses in Beijing, which are worth about 1.9 billion yuan. I was silent, thinking, and then I asked tentatively, Chow Mion, you're not lying to me, are you? If I lie to you, I'm a dog. That day, I looked blankly at the sky outside the window. I had forgotten the memories of the past 10 years, and I didn't know how I had lived through those 10 years, but Chow Mion said I was rich. And when I was 18, I loved money the most, so I thought this was still not bad. Chow Mion took a leave of absence. In the following days, she took me to handle various property transfers. I didn't see the Paisu that Chow Mion mentioned. He had entrusted a lawyer to handle all the divorce property divisions. After being busy for almost a month, Chow Mion then helped me list all the houses in my name for rent. She calculated for me that the monthly rent would be around 1.2 million yuan. That day, looking at the countless zeros in my bank card and seeing myself in the mirror at 28, with delicate makeup and hair, I scratched my head. It wasn't too bad. I had nothing to do at home, but Chow Mion had to work, so I would stay at Chow Mion's house playing games every day. When Chow Mion ordered takeout at noon, she would also order one for me. Chow Mion came home from work very late. When she came back at night, she was exhausted, leaning on the sofa with a look of despair. I put down the game console and gave her a shoulder massage. Maybe it was muscle memory, but I gave a really good massage. After Chow Mion had enough rest, she started to sigh. Paisu is such a jerk. You worked for him for free right after graduation. His mother was in poor health, and after work, you even had to give his mother a shoulder and back massage. As Chow Mion talked, she suddenly grabbed me and flicked my forehead. Wanwan, you're really spineless. When I'm not around, you let them bully you. Those people just take advantage of the fact that you're a child with no one to love. I touched my forehead, feeling a bit, I don't remember what you said, I only remember you. Chow Mion stopped talking, then laughed. Yeah, it's good that you don't remember. Just remember me, I won't bully you. I believed Chow Mion because I grew up with her. We both grew up in an orphanage. When we were very young, I followed Chow Mion around. Chow Mion snatched snacks for me and helped me wash clothes. Later, when we grew up a bit, Chow Mion tutored me with my schoolwork. She was 1 year older than me. When I was in my senior year of high school, she was in her freshman year of college. She called me every day, encouraging me to study hard. At that time, she wanted me to get into the same university as her. But Chow Mion's grades were so high, I studied like crazy. But in the end, I still wasn't able to get into Peking University. The day the exam results came out, I hugged Chow Mion and cried. Chow Mion flicked my forehead. What are you crying for? 666. Your grades are so good, what's there to cry about? She stroked my head. It's already very good. Later, I went to Shanghai in tears. Chow Mion always regretted it. She said she shouldn't have let me go to Shanghai. If you hadn't gone to Shanghai, you wouldn't have met Peisu. If you hadn't met Peisu, I interrupted. Then I wouldn't have this one, 9 billion. Chow Mion put her hands on her hips. Is money more important than these 10 years of yours? I tried to guess the correct answer. Money is more important. Chow Mion was frustrated. You are more important. If you're not happy, no amount of money is useful. Fortunately, you lost your memory. Otherwise, if you did something stupid because you couldn't think it through, what would be the use of all that money? It could buy me a nice cemetery. Chow Mion was so angry that she laughed. Get out. Chow Mion has always been amazing. She's still amazing now. She's the general manager of a multinational company, with a monthly salary of around 400,000 yuan. But she's very busy. Sometimes she has to go on business trips and is worried about me, so she takes me with her. Later, she thought that since she had to take me everywhere anyway, why spend her own money? So she recruited me into her company as her assistant. I was familiar with this. I had read more than a dozen books about the domineering president falling in love with the little assistant in the past few months. On the first day, I went to work confidently in a pencil skirt business suit. I made coffee for her, organized materials for her, and ran around. I seemed extremely hard working. Later, she found it funny and told me not to run around. She gave me a form. Let you take you and do this. Learn slowly. There's no rush. Okay. So I officially started working. I went to work and got off work with Chow Mion every day. I didn't have much work, so I got off work relatively early. Chow Mion was different. She had a lot of work. Every time, I would wait for Chow Mion in the lounge. Later, Chow Mion saw me studying lessons on my phone and suddenly remembered to ask me seriously. Wanwan, do you want to study? I thought for a moment and said, I do. I had lost my memory and didn't know much about work. I almost had to start from scratch. Every time I didn't do well, I felt very frustrated. When I was a child, Chow Mion was my goal. Now, Chow Mion still is. I also want to be as comfortable and confident as Chow Mion in everything I do. She's so cool. Later, Chow Mion signed me up for a class. After work every day, I would drive to attend the class. I took systematic project management courses, which also included the application of various office software. I filled 2 notebooks with my notes before I began to understand, so that's how it is. Later, after I finished the course, Chow Mion sent me to study financial accounting. After studying for a year, I had a complete understanding. So that's how it works, and my work also started to go smoothly. When I had been working for a year, Chow Mion began to let me participate in project negotiations with Anu. Anu is 3 years younger than me. She's a project manager with a very nice personality. She speaks very gently and takes good care of me. After finishing the work, she went downstairs to buy herself a cup of coffee and bought me an ice cream. I happily scooped the ice cream, and you laughed. Sister Mion said you're 29. I never believe it. Sister Wanwan, you're just like a child, the kind who is hard working and obedient. I thought for a while and told her seriously. Actually, I have 2 children. Don't lie to me. We've been working together for over a year, and I've never seen your husband. I'm divorced. Sister, you look like a young girl. Actually, I'm a young married woman. And you was stunned. She didn't believe me. I laughed, in fact. I didn't believe it either. I clearly just finished the college entrance examination. How could I be 29? But I've been taking good care of myself in the past 2 years, and I do look young now. Actually, my state wasn't good right after the divorce. I was haggard, but perhaps money can nourish a person. After I was discharged from the hospital, for a while, Chow Mion took me to do various skin care treatments. She also said I was too weak and signed me up for a fighting class. At 18, I always followed Chow Mion's lead. If she says go east, I will never go west. If she says fighting, I will never sign up for taekwondo. We hired a nanny at home to make nutritious meals. As time passed, I got better and better. Because I lost my memory, I had no worries at all. I had money and didn't have to work, and I could eat and sleep well. In those few months, my hair even became thicker. In fact, I've been quite happy in the past year or so. I've forgotten those messy memories of the past 10 years. My 18-year-old mind is clean, learning all kinds of knowledge without pressure, and Chow Mion is always there to support and guide me. But perhaps even God couldn't stand to see me so comfortable. One day, at the place where Anu took me to discuss cooperation, I met a man. Anu's meeting that day was quite confidential, so I couldn't go. She left me in the coffee shop downstairs, eating ice cream and reading. When I was halfway through reading, I felt someone was looking at me. I looked up, and there was a man in a suit, with a frown. He just stared at me. I was stunned. I always felt that the man looked familiar, but I couldn't remember who he was. Later, after Anu finished the meeting and came down, I went to her with the coffee I bought in advance. When passing by that man, I heard him say, pretending not to know me. This sentence was rather abrupt. I glanced at him, didn't pay much attention, and walked out of the door with the coffee, but the man followed me out. Chen Wanwan, not even a greeting when we meet. I turned around, and Anu also turned around. Anu saw the man and smiled. Mr. Pei, long time no see. Pei Su didn't pay attention to Anu. He stared at me. I looked at the man. Mr. Pei. Could he be Pei Su? I whispered to Anu. Is he Pei Su? Yeah, the president of the Pei group. Do you know him? I said. Well, he seems to be my ex-husband. Anu was stunned. She looked at me, then at Pei Su, and then at me again. Pei Su stared at me. I thought for a while and reached out my hand. Hello. Pei Su didn't shake my hand. He looked at me with a contemptuous and teasing look. Chen Wanwan, I underestimated you. I thought you were really a good mother. In court, you fought so hard for Zhao Zhao and Yang Yang, but after getting the money, you didn't even come to see them. Fortunately, the children weren't given to you. A person like you doesn't deserve to be a mother. For some reason, an inexplicable sense of sadness welled up in my heart, but after the sadness dissipated, I couldn't remember what Zhao Zhao and Yang Yang, whom he mentioned, looked like no matter how hard I tried. Chen Wanwan, you'd better come back this weekend. Otherwise, you'll never see Zhao Zhao and Yang Yang for the rest of your life. Pei Su left, leaving only the confused Anu and the thoughtful me. That day when I got home, I heard about my 2 children for the first time from Chow Mion. Those 2 kids are very smart, but at that time, Pei Su was starting a business, and you were also busy. You went back to work right after giving birth. The 2 children were raised by their grandparents and aren't very close to you. Wanwan, when you divorced, you could have gotten 50% of the marital property, but you signed an agreement with Pei Su. You only took 20% of the property. But Pei Su had to sign a statement that he couldn't remarry and had to ensure that all his property would go to the 2 children. She paused and then continued. You gave birth to both children after 10 months of pregnancy. You loved them so much, but it was no use. The 2 children don't like you. The day I went to pick you up, I saw them scolding you, saying that you did nothing but took 20% of Pei Su's property and asking you to return it. You just stood there in silence. When they got angry, they threw a glass at you. Chow Mion didn't finish. She sighed and hugged me. Wanwan, don't remember. Okay, it's so nice for us to be happy like this. I nodded seriously. Okay, I don't want to remember either. However, if you want to see them this weekend, you can go. It's impossible not to see them forever. I'll go with you then. No one can bully you. I looked up at Chow Mion and nodded. Actually, it didn't matter if I didn't see them. I really had forgotten. I just felt a little sad when they were first mentioned. Now, I don't feel much. I was just a little curious about what they looked like. That day, Chow Mion accompanied me. When Pei Su opened the door and saw Chow Mion, he frowned. He probably didn't like Chow Mion, of course. Chow Mion liked him even less. Pei Su asked me to go in but tried to block Chow Mion outside. I was startled and immediately ran out, following Chow Mion. I was actually a bit afraid of Pei Su. Pei Su is too tall and has a strong sense of oppression. The key is that I don't remember him. I held on to Chow Mion. If Chow Mion didn't go in, I wouldn't either. Pei Su's face immediately darkened. Chen Wanwan, if you want to see the children today, you have to come in alone. That's fine. I don't want to see them then. I shook my head like a rattle, scared out of my wits. What kind of person was this? I pulled Chow Mion and wanted to leave. Pei Su was so angry that he laughed. Chen Wanwan. What do you mean, am I that scary? Of course he was scary. He was almost 9 meters tall, big and burly. One punch from him could smash me onto the wall and I'd be stuck there. I was very firm. I'll only go in with Chow Mion. Pei Su had a sullen face, and Chow Mion stared back expressionlessly. In the end, Pei Su stepped aside and opened the door. Come in. The living room of the small villa was very large. In the middle of the living room sat a boy of about 7 or 8 years old. The boy looked a lot like his father, and his expression wasn't very friendly when he met my gaze. This should be Pei Jiao. Next to him sat a little girl, presumably Pei Yang. The little girl, following her brother, looked at me with some surprise. Are you Mom? I nodded. Pei Yang tugged at her brother's sleeve. Brother, Mom is so pretty now. The little boy suddenly shouted. Shut up, don't call her Mom. She's not Mom anymore. She doesn't care about you or me. What kind of mom is she? She even won't let Dad get married and won't let us have a new mom. She's a bad person. She's a psycho. My initial anticipation vanished in an instant. I wasn't as sad as I thought I'd be, and I still couldn't remember them. They seemed familiar, but in fact, I had forgotten them completely. It was like two somewhat familiar children scolding me. I wasn't angry, just felt bored. I stayed at the Pei's house for half a day. Pei Jiao ignored me, and Pei Yang didn't dare to talk to me. What impressed me the most that day was that the food at the Pei's was delicious, and the nanny at the Pei's was quite young. She was a girl in her 20s, very beautiful, well organized in her work, and pleasing to the eye. Her cooking was even better. I was thinking that this nanny was really good and whether I could hire her away, until the little nanny swayed her hips and pestered Pei Su to feed him strawberries. Only then did Chow Mion get angry and whisper to me, "What the hell is she showing off? She's the mistress between you and Pei Su. Her name is Li Yang, and she's your junior." Instead of striving for a better future in such a good university, she became his mistress. She's crazy. Chow Mion cursed harshly. I touched my nose, feeling a bit guilty. Actually, I wasn't very ambitious back then either and was quite infatuated with love, but realizing that I couldn't hire the nanny, I felt deeply regretful. Then I decisively served myself another bowl of rice. Halfway through the meal, Chow Mion suddenly received a work call. She glanced at me. I guessed that it must be something urgent since Chow Mion's call came so abruptly. I immediately comforted her. I'm fine. I'll go back by myself later. You go first, Wanwan. It'll only be 40 minutes. I'll come back to pick you up in 40 minutes. Chow Mion left in a hurry. After the meal that day, Pei Su glanced at Li Yang, and Li Yang tactfully took the children upstairs. Only Pei Su and I were left in the living room. I looked at my watch. Chow Mion would probably be here in about 10 minutes. I was thinking that if Pei Su hit me, how could I escape through the door as quickly as possible? Was my fighting class useful? Not really. After all, I was only 7 meters tall and a bit thin. I was too weak. Pei Su reached out his hand. In an instant, I took off running. Since I couldn't run out of the door, I ran into the nearest room and locked the door. Hiding in the room, I heard the sound of Pei Su getting the key. I was even more scared. You're not allowed to come in. If you come in, I'll call the police. Through the door, I heard Pei Su's angry voice. Chen Wanwan, what on earth are you afraid of me for? We dated for 10 years and were husband and wife for 7 years. Are you still afraid that I'll hit you? I broke down and shouted hysterically. What do you care what I'm afraid of? Stay away from me. Get lost. The voice outside the door suddenly weakened. Wanwan, what's wrong with you? How did you become like this? Who bullied you? Get lost. Stay away from this room until Chow Mion comes back. A long sigh came from outside the door. Chen Wanwan, how can you be so heartless? It's been a year, and you haven't come back to see us once. Wonwan, if you beg me today, we can remarry. I was so annoyed that I covered my ears and shouted, don't talk, stay away from me. Peisu paused, and his footsteps gradually faded away, leaning against the door, holding a pair of scissors. I let out a sigh of relief. Xiao Mian had actually told me a lot about what happened between me and Peisu. According to Xiao Mian, I should have been crazy about Peisu. When Peisu had an affair, I didn't want to divorce, I would just quarrel with him like crazy. Later, when Peisu got tired of me and forced me to divorce, I even threatened him with suicide, but it was useless. Later, Peisu sued for divorce. He hired the best lawyer in the country. In Xiao Mian's words, I loved him so much that it was engraved in my bones, to the point of forgetting myself. However, after losing my memory, every time I saw Peisu, I wasn't sad but was somehow afraid. He was so tall, so fierce, and always spoke so meanly. I didn't understand how I could fall in love with such a person. I was a child abandoned in an orphanage, always doing things cautiously. Any little bit of harm was enough to break me. It took me more than 10 years to gather the courage to make only one friend, Xiao Mian. But during those 10 years, how could I have been so willing to give everything and had the courage to love such a person? I didn't know what had happened before, but I was really scared now. After coming back from Peisu's house, I had nightmares for several days. In my dreams, Peisu was always chasing me. Later, Xiao Mian asked me if I still wanted to go and see the children. I immediately shook my head. No way, he looks like the king of hell. Just thinking about him scares me. Xiao Mian laughed. In the end, tears came out of her laughter. Our Wonwan has been wronged. My dear, I promise you, you'll never be wronged again. Things will get better and better, of course. I was now a person with 1.9 billion in assets. Presumably noticing that I was affected by Peisu and my recent state wasn't good, Xiao Mian thought it over and arranged a lot of work for me. I started working overtime. One day, I worked overtime until the early morning. After finishing my work, I leaned back in my chair, feeling completely disheartened and even thinking of death. Now, instead of dreaming about Peisu, I started dreaming about work. I worked during the day, and even in my dreams at night, it was all about work. Later, I went to Xiao Mian. Xiao Mian teased me with a smile. Oh, can't finish your work, others can finish it. Why can't you? Aren't you working hard enough? I grabbed her collar and shook her. Go to hell, you evil capitalist. Okay. Isn't the holiday coming soon? A 9-day holiday. I'll take you out to play. It was National Day. We were playing by the sea. Xiao Mian was afraid I'd get lost, so she even bought me a positioning watch. I've always loved the sea. When I was 18, I dreamed of wearing a beautiful bikini and playing in the water, but when we got to the beach, I wasn't happy. There were scars on my belly, which looked ugly. I felt a bit sad and told Xiao Mian, it's so ugly. Why did I do this back then? I gave birth to the children with so much pain, but they treated me with harsh words. Xiao Mian bent down and stroked my head. Don't think like that. You were young back then. You bravely loved the world. They betrayed you, but it's not your fault. I thought Xiao Mian was right. I still wanted to wear a crop top bikini, so I covered the scars with foundation. It didn't cover them completely, but it didn't matter. We went to a privately contracted beach. We paid to get in, and there weren't many people there. That day, I excitedly ran into the sea with Xiao Mian and played for a long time. I picked up a particularly big and beautiful stone on the beach. When I turned around, I found Xiao Mian's face looked bad. Following Xiao Mian's gaze, I saw Peisu. Peisu was looking at me with a sneer. Chen Wanwan, I really thought you'd changed, but after more than a year. Are you using this trick to seduce me again? Disgusting thing. I cursed in a low voice. Xiao Mian was amused by me. Okay, let's go. I followed Xiao Mian back to the shore. I didn't want to look at Peisu again from beginning to end, until Peisu approached and looked down at me. I don't know what came over me that day. I wasn't afraid anymore, but I was very angry. Why was it such a person who let me down? I looked up at him and smiled. Why are you here too? Peisu looked at me and said in a low voice, you forgot. This beach originally belongs to me. There weren't many people around. Xiao Mian instinctively wanted to take me away, but I broke free. I crooked my finger, and Peisu bent down and put his hand on my waist. His eyes lingered on my body. I looked at him with a smile. The closer he got, when he was the closest, I hit Peisu on the head with the stone. Peisu didn't react in time, he lost his balance, and I kicked him in the crotch. He squatted down, I kept hitting him with the stone, hitting him hard, all on the head, he didn't have the strength to resist, then I started hitting him on other parts of his body. Finally, Chow Mion hugged me. Wonwan, stop hitting, you'll kill him. Suddenly, my tears fell. Chow Mion. I remember how I met him. I first met Peisu because I was being bullied, and Peisu saved me. At that time, Peisu was still very young, 19 years old. He came like a hero from the sky. He stood in front of me, blocking me, and smashed a brick on the bully's head. Later, I chased after him and confessed to him. In winter, I gave him flowers, and he agreed to be with me. At that time, he taught me, saying that if I was bullied, I should smash people with a brick. The autumn wind blew through the leaves on campus, rustling. I turned back and asked him, should I smash whoever bullies me? Of course, smash whoever bullies you. What if you bully me in the future? Then you can beat me to death. Even if you beat me to death, I won't blame you. Wonwan, I love you. The Peisu from the past overlapped with the one in front of me. Peisu was covered in blood, but he looked at me and laughed silently. Wonwan, so you were afraid of me because you forgot. I knew it, I knew it. How could you be afraid of me? You loved me so much. Wonwan, now that you've vented your anger, come home with me. Okay, if you don't like them, I'll send them all away. They won't bother you anymore, just consider it all my fault. Let's remarry, okay? Chow Mion was stunned when she heard this, her voice trembled. Wonwan, I laughed, looking at Peisu lying on the beach. I hit him on the head with the stone again. Damn it, Peisu, why don't you go to hell? Peisu laughed. Wonwan, you see, you hate me because you still love me. I love your mother. Peisu, a good ex-husband should be like his dead and never appear in front of me again. Wonwan, don't leave, I like you like this now, just like when we were in college, beautiful, brave, and naive. I picked up the stone and hit him again. Damn it, if you want to recall the past with your ex-wife, you should just die and start a new life in the next life. I stood up, patted the sand off my legs, and turned to follow Chow Mion away. Chow Mion was a bit worried. Wonwan, won't he call the police? Who cares? Worst case scenario, I'll go to jail, I'll be out in 2 years. I'm not taking the civil servant exam, so what am I afraid of? Chow Mion was speechless. She looked at me and sighed. Wonwan, how much of your memory has come back? Up to when I was 23, I remember things from my college days. At 18, Chen Wonwan was timid about everything, but at 23, Chen Wonwan was very brave, because that year, Peisu lost money in business. The debt collectors came to the door, pressing us every day. Later, they got so desperate that they threatened us with the children. To protect the children in the house, I held an electric baton in my left hand and a kitchen knife in my right hand. The tough are afraid of the ruthless, and the ruthless are afraid of those who don't care about their lives. I was the one who didn't care about my life. I was a mother. No one could touch my children unless they killed me. Later, those people were scared and never dared to come near me. 23 was probably the bravest time of my life. I was young then, not even afraid of death, fearless of everything. After National Day, I went back with Chow Mion. Chow Mion was originally worried that I would go back because of my restored memory, but I didn't. I still worked diligently at my job every day. She observed me for a few months and finally felt relieved. Then she started taking advantage of me again with a clear conscience. Finally, one day, I was working overtime until 2 in the morning, looking at her resentfully. Come on, we're childhood friends. Do you really treat me like a beast of burden? She patted me on the shoulder. You've become a wage slave. What else do you expect? That I'll treat you like a human? I was like a resentful ghost in the 18th level of hell, wandering around the company listlessly. But this wasn't the most annoying thing. The most annoying thing was that Peisu blocked me every now and then. Sometimes he brought the children. When I saw Jiao Jiao again, I was a bit surprised. I walked up to him. You've really grown up so much. Jiao Jiao turned his face away irritably. But I didn't mind. I looked at him and said in a low voice, when I held you, you were just this tiny. You cried day and night. Sometimes I thought, why are you so fussy? I must have owed you in my previous life. But I loved you so much that I couldn't bear to let you go. Finally, Jiao Jiao deigned to look at me. I touched his head. You're in school now, right? You're a big boy from now on. I'm relieved to see you growing up well. He looked at me, then suddenly shook off my hand angrily. Chen Wanwan, don't think that Dad and I will forgive you just because of this. After saying that, he turned around and ran into the car to hide. I was stunned. Beside me, Yang Yang tugged at my sleeve. Mom, I pinched Yang Yang's little face. Yang Yang, Mom loves you too. Yang Yang was stunned. Suddenly, her eyes turned red, and tears rolled down. Mom, all the children in the kindergarten have moms. Mom, come back. Okay, I bent down and hugged her. Baby, Mom loves you. You can come to Mom anytime. But Mom has already chosen her own path in life. I'm sorry, Mom can't go back. Peisu was silent. There was a bandage on his head. And his face was still bruised and swollen from my beating. I looked at him expressionlessly. He could actually still smile. It seemed his injuries weren't serious enough. He reached out to hold my hand, but I dodged it. His fingers hung in mid-air. He looked at me and smiled, his voice hoarse. Wanwan, forget about those things. Let's forget the past and start over. Okay, I instantly got angry. Get lost. Peisu, how dare you betray me? When you were at your worst, it was me. I who took on everything for you. You were standing on the rooftop then, asking me if everything would be okay if you died. I shouldn't have stopped you then. Why didn't you just die? I really fucking regret it. He was stunned. After a long time, he murmured, Wanwan, don't say that, you lost your memory. So you don't know what happened after that. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't want things to turn out like this either. Really? So what happened after that? Did I have an affair? Or did you find out the 2 children aren't yours? No, Wanwan, then you just sank into depravity on your own. Perhaps I had hit a nerve. His tone became harsher. Chen Wanwan, how do you know what I've been through? It was you who didn't come back to turn off the gas. It was your fault. Chen Wanwan, how can you be so self-righteous? It was clearly your fault. I laughed. My fault. Fine, it was my fault then. Anyway, it was you who forced me to divorce. You did all these things yourself. Since you wanted to break up with me, why do you still want to contact me? Why do you get to forget everything? Chen Wanwan, why? He frowned, but I just laughed, because I'm lucky. And because I want to, fuck you, Peisu, you don't deserve to bully me. I continued to work. One day, I just couldn't take it anymore and stood up against it. I forced Xiao Mian to leave work. Xiao Mian looked at my huge dark circles and eye bags and burst out laughing. She patted me on the shoulder. Wanwan, you're excellent, she said it seriously, and I suddenly remembered when she praised me when we were kids. I buried my head and laughed for a long time. Finally, I hugged her shoulder. Dear sister, I'm begging you, take me home from work early. Stop PUA-ing your workhorse. I've had enough coffee. Don't give me any more stimulants. She sighed and patted my shoulder. The project isn't over yet. We still need to work hard. I gritted my teeth in hatred. Chow the skinflint. After another intense month of work, the biggest project was successfully submitted for acceptance. It was finally over, and the end of the year was approaching. Xiao Mian and I relaxed and started living a life of going to work at 10 in the morning and getting off work at 5 in the afternoon. We lived leisurely every day, buying groceries and cooking after work. Before, it was the nanny who cooked. Now that we had free time, we started cooking ourselves. Cooking alone is a chore, but cooking with 2 people is quite relaxing. Anyway, we're not in a hurry. After cooking, we set up a small table on the balcony. After dinner, we have 2 glasses of sparkling water mixed with sake. This kind of life is the most comfortable. The company is very close to home. When we're free, sometimes we're too lazy to drive and just walk back. But one day, when I came downstairs from the company, I saw a drunk Peisu. Life is full of sorrows. And a drunk Peisu looks like a pig's head. I didn't bother with him. Xiao Mian called Li Yang. Li Yang came quickly. She greeted me with a smile. Senior Chen, long time no see. When do you have time to come to our place for a meal again? Yang Yang has been talking about you a lot recently. I laughed. Yang, being a mistress isn't like this. A mistress climbing the bed is like a mongrel getting on the bed. You should lie low with your tail between your legs. Yelling all the time won't get you far. Li Yang's eyes instantly turned venomous. Senior, you're still so mean, but what's the use of your meanness? What's the use of your tantrums? No matter how hard you try, you still couldn't keep his heart. Could you? Yang, I've already called you a dog. What kind of good thing could he be? I wouldn't even let him carry my shoes. I'd think he'd dirty the ground if he lay at the company entrance. Take your dog like man and get lost. You disgust me for 800 years with just one look. Looking back at you will give me a sty. I went to work and got off work every day. I rarely saw Peisu anymore, but Yang Yang often called me. Sometimes she talked about things in kindergarten, and sometimes about Peisu, around the spring festival. Yang Yang called me, over the phone. She said in a childish voice, "Mom, will you come back for the new year?" I sighed, "Sorry, baby, but you can come to Mom's place for the new year." "Mom, Aunt Li Yang was kicked out. There's no mistress in our house anymore. Come back." That day, I was silent for a long time. I apologized to her over the phone. "I'm sorry, baby. Mom is really sorry for making you go through this. But Mom didn't leave just because of Aunt Li. There are many problems. And Mom can't go back anymore. Baby, do you miss Mom? Come and stay with Mom for a couple of days. Mom, if I leave, Dad will be sad. Dad was already very sad when Mom left." The rest of my words stuck in my throat. "I'm sorry, Yang Yang, it's okay. Dad said Mom loves us the most. You just forgot about me now. When you remember everything, you'll definitely come back. Mom, I love you, and I love Dad too." Later, the call ended. I sat in the room, staring blankly at the ceiling. After a long time, I sighed and rubbed my aching temples. At the end of the year, Chow Mion and I went to buy New Year goods, while Chow Mion went to get something. I was looking at my phone when I suddenly heard Yang Yang's voice. "Mom." I instinctively looked up and looked around, but I didn't see anyone. At this moment, Peisu called me. "Wanwan, is Yang Yang with you?" "What do you mean?" "Yang Yang has been arguing about spending the new year with you for the past 2 days. She suddenly disappeared today." "Peisu, what are you doing? Where's your nanny? Where's your housekeeper? Have you checked the surveillance?" "I have. She went out alone. She was heading towards your place. I took her there before, and she remembered the way." I forced myself to calm down and then continued, "I'm going home now. You call the police and check the road surveillance." "Okay." As soon as the call ended, I heard another clear "Mom." I looked up suddenly. Yes, it was definitely Yang Yang's voice. I followed the sound and saw a small door at the back of the supermarket. Vaguely, there seemed to be a child-like figure standing there. I rushed over and pushed the door open, but I found it was a doll. Beside the doll was a recorder, constantly shouting "Mom." I instinctively felt something was wrong, but before I could leave, I felt a sharp pain in my head and fainted heavily. When I woke up, I was in a desolate building. I looked at the ropes on my body, then I looked at Li Yang sitting in the distance. Li Yang was sitting there, propping her head up, staring blankly into the distance. "Li Yang, you kidnapped me." Li Yang came back to her senses and turned to look at me. She stared at me, her eyes complicated at first, then turned calm. "Senior, why do you think I'm the one who's always unhappy?" "What do you mean, Senior? Peisu saved me too. He worked so hard for me. But why? Why won't he like me a little more, Senior?" "Back then, my parents didn't want me to go to school. It was Senior Pei who crossed the mountains, gave my parents money, and took me back. Senior, I like him." I was silent. I sighed. After a long time, I looked at Li Yang. "Li Yang, I came out of an orphanage, and you came out of the mountains. You know, we're the same. We have no home in those places. Just growing up properly takes all our strength. So I also thought about having someone to protect me. I also wanted to find a home, with a long road ahead. I wouldn't be afraid if I wasn't alone." "Li Yang, we were young then. I understand that you liked him. I liked him too back then. But I'm almost 30, and you're almost 28, right? People say living to 70 is rare. We've already lived half our lives. Why would you do such a thing for a man?" "Li Yang, I've already been stupid once, wasting 10 years of my life. I admit it. I just consider myself unlucky and that I misjudged the person, but I've already been a cautionary example. You're not stupid. Why do you still do this? Do you really think you can rely on a man for the rest of your life?" "Senior, I'm different from you. I have nothing, if I don't rely on him. What are these 10 years of mine for? Consider yourself unlucky too." Li Yang was stunned. After a long time, she laughed. Li Yang turned around. Just like the first time I saw her eyes were bright. "Sister, I used to have a dream too." "What?" "I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to go to outer space, to see what's beyond the world. I didn't want to stay among people. I hated this world that always bullied me." "Senior, what was your dream back then?" I was stunned. I thought for a long time. Finally, I remembered and suddenly laughed. You know Chow Mion, right? Chow Mion has been amazing since we were kids, when I was in my senior year of high school. I made a wish that I wanted to grow up and follow Chow Mion, just living an easy life. What a mediocre idea. Our teacher said that people should set lofty ideals. As long as we work hard, we can change the world. Living an easy life is great too. At least we're living freely and working hard. Unlike now, I can't even protect myself. Li Yang didn't speak for a long time. Until the sun started to set, I stared obsessively at the bright place. When the light disappeared, she turned back and said, "Senior, you haven't talked to me so peacefully for a long time. A long time ago, we were friends who talked about everything." I didn't speak. Looking into the distance, it was getting dark, and the whole city was lit up. The wind was strong, messing up Li Yang's hair. Later, I heard Pei Su call her. She pressed the answer button but then threw the phone off the tall building. The phone fell from the building and soon fell silent. She turned around and slowly walked over to sit next to me, leaning against me. "Senior, I haven't been after money all these years. I just like it when someone hugs me. I've been alone since I was a child, for a year, for 10 years, watching other people's parents come to pick them up, watching others being hugged like treasures. I thought then, what's the point of living?" I disagreed. "Is not living more meaningful?" She laughed. "But senior, I'm so tired of living, senior. Do you remember when we were in college, they said there were bugs on me and threw my quilt into the toilet? I was so scared. I borrowed a phone to call Pei Su. Pei Su called you, and you rushed over in a hurry. You took me to your dormitory and hugged me to sleep. Senior, I'll untie the ropes for you. Don't leave. Can you hug me and sleep for a while?" I was silent. Li Yang didn't get a reply from me. She stared blankly for a while. Later, the ropes were untied. Li Yang fell asleep quickly. Leaning against me, I tried to put her down and turned to leave, but when I reached the stairwell, I suddenly turned back. Li Yang was curled up on the ground, her face pale and calm. At that moment, I remembered something and froze in place. A minute later, I ran back like crazy. Li Yang, did you take something?" Li Yang. That day, I carried Li Yang and ran downstairs, 6 floors. I don't know how Li Yang got me up there, but after I carried her down, I was almost exhausted. I didn't dare stop. I carried her and ran towards the nearby block. The moment the police shone their flashlights, I finally stopped and shouted desperately, "Call 120, she took medicine. Save her." Li Yang was taken away. I stood there, gasping for breath, exhausted. A policeman helped me walk forward. It was a long time later that I looked up and saw 2 people running over. On the left was Chow Mion, and on the right was Pei Su. Chow Mion didn't speak. Pei Su called me pleadingly, "Wanwan. Yang was scared and is asking to see you. Will you come home with me?" I stared at Pei Su for a long, long time. In fact, I hadn't looked at him so seriously for several years. The initial amazement when we first met had been smoothed out by time. I exhaled a breath of turbid air and seriously explained to him for the first time. "Pei Su, that day when the gas leaked and exploded, you asked me where I was. I can finally answer you now. That day, I had hypoglycemia and was sent to the hospital. I lay in the hospital for a day and a night. I didn't turn on the gas. I couldn't come back in time because I was still unconscious in the hospital. It wasn't my fault. That day, you were working overtime and didn't come back, but none of this should have been my fault. There were so many messy things between us, but your betrayal of me was the most real." After Yang was born, Pei Su's mother suffered from Alzheimer's disease. There was no other way. I became a housewife at home. At that time, our conditions were average, and we couldn't afford a nanny, but Pei Su was very busy. I was the only one taking care of 2 elderly people and 2 children. That morning, I went out to buy groceries and left Jiao Jiao with his grandparents. Jiao Jiao was 4 years old that year. At an age when he liked to run around and touch things, he curiously turned on the gas, and then the gas leaked. An explosion occurred when cooking in the evening. Grandpa died on the spot. Grandma was holding Jiao Jiao and was farther away. Grandma instinctively protected Jiao Jiao in her arms during the explosion. Jiao Jiao was safe, but Grandma had 86% of her skin severely burned and infected. In the end, she didn't make it through that month. I didn't go back that day. I returned home the next day. Pei Su blamed me for running around and not taking good care of the child. I didn't say anything. If someone had to take the blame, it should be me. At that time, Jiao Jiao was still young and had suddenly lost his grandparents. I would rather he hate me completely than blame himself. After that, Peisu kept asking me where I had been that day and why I didn't come home for a whole day. He said that if it had been discovered earlier, everything would have been fine. I didn't say anything. I was too tired. I didn't want to prove my innocence anymore. Later, Peisu and I started a Cold War. A long time later, I found out he had an affair. I didn't react much. I thought that maybe marriage was like this at that time. I was so tired. I didn't want to care about Peisu. It was okay to maintain a superficial peace, but he couldn't even maintain that superficial peace. Later, he said he wanted a divorce, but I disagreed. Jiao Jiao and Yang Yang were still young. At that time, I was almost pushed into depression by life. I didn't understand how things had turned out like this, but no one understood me. Jiao Jiao hated me, and Peisu hated me too. Peisu forced me. He wouldn't listen to me. All I could do was throw things and go crazy. Like a bird trapped in a cage, I wanted to break the cage, but no matter how hard I tried, all I could see were the mocking faces of passers-by. Later, Peisu was determined to divorce me even through legal proceedings. At that time, I originally wanted to explain, but Peisu wouldn't listen. He just wanted a divorce and didn't want to see me at all. And now, it should be over. Why didn't I go back that day? Because of continuous busyness. I had hypoglycemia. I fainted at the supermarket entrance while holding Yang Yang and slept in the hospital for a day and a night. Chen Wanwan, you hate me, right? I looked at Peisu and shook my head. I did before, but now that I remember everything, I'm too lazy to hate. Those 10 years were like a big dream. Now that I've woken up, I realize that my future is still long. I don't need to care about you, and I don't want to waste any more time. I turned around and walked towards Qiao Mian. Qiao Mian held my hand, and I suddenly felt, I haven't eaten all day. I'm starving. Okay, let's go home. I didn't look back. I didn't care what Peisu's reaction would be when he learned the truth. All I knew was that it was getting late, and I should go home and sleep. The road ahead is long. There's no need to look back and dwell on the past. The past should also fade away with the wind. The end. Extra Chapter 1. Many years later, I still remember that night. That night, I was completely disheartened. On my way back, I got into a car accident and was injured. I couldn't struggle out, so I simply gave up struggling. But Qiao Mian came. The car was still on fire. I couldn't figure out where Qiao Mian got that much strength from. She bent the bumper. She climbed in through the trunk and dragged me out. She held me in her arms, and I could feel her body trembling. At that moment, I burst into tears. Mian Mian, don't be afraid, it's okay. I'm here, we'll go to the hospital, we'll be fine. She carried me out of the crowd. The car behind us exploded. Maybe it was just 1 minute. If Qiao Mian had come 1 minute later, I would have died in the sea of fire. Later, when I woke up, I had lost my memory, but looking at Qiao Mian, I knew that she was my second life. Extra Chapter 2. I went to see Li Yang and tried to explain to the police, will the sentence be very heavy? Does she have the circumstances of surrendering herself? Can the punishment be mitigated? Qiao Mian took me home. After confirming that it was difficult for me to regain my memory, it's still early. The police said, looking at us with a complicated expression, I've never seen a victim pleading for the perpetrator, and the perpetrator doesn't even agree. The police asked me to go home and think it over, and come back to decide whether to sign the letter of understanding. Later, Li Yang was sentenced to 5 years. Later, I went to visit her. She smiled. Senior, thank you. I'm doing well now. Actually, I've long wanted to leave the crowd. People gather in groups, talking about money, power, and the future. Every word they say affects me. I'm anxious, self-reflective, impatient, and scared. At that time, I was so afraid of not being able to fit in that I was in a constant state of anxiety. But my original dream was to go to outer space and build my own utopia alone. Goodbye, Senior. I'm sleepy and need to rest. When I wake up one day, I'll come to chat with you. I would remember to send Li Yang some things every few months. In March of the next year, she wrote me a letter. The handwriting was very delicate. She said she had learned a lot recently, such as embroidery and paper cutting. She said she was still studying hard and would send me some when she became more proficient. At the end of the letter, she said that she originally wanted to take me to die with her that day, but standing on the tall building, she regretted it. Why kill me? to make Pei-su sad. Pei-su had already cheated. It was ridiculous to say that I was his true love. I should have taken Pei-su up there, then he would definitely regret it. Also, senior, I don't feel bad at all when you scolded me, because when I was very young, I had already heard even dirtier insults.